Worksop! Come on, Worksop!
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Tiger Talk, the official podcast of Worksop Town Football Club. Here at the Tiger Talk Industries, we hope you've had a wonderful Christmas and hoping someone that's had a wonderful Christmas. Luke, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine, Devon, thank you. I've had a good Christmas myself. What about you?
It feels like Christmas has just flown by with everything that's been going on and the whole lead up to it. You know, it's a big day. Everyone, frantically rushes about, especially, people like me that's very underprepared, that's rushing about 2 days before Christmas to get presents. But we all survived. We all enjoyed his Christmas dinner, and we also had a fantastic game to talk about on Monday. Yeah,
it was like what Harry said after the game, that it was a game of 2 halves, and there was I think it was a record crowd as well this year, so that was good.
Yeah, the biggest crowd so far this season. Hopefully, everyone got something that what makes them want to come back, especially that second half performance. But we'll get more into that in a second. Here's what's coming up on today's show. So obviously, we're going to talk about that victory over Cleethorpes Town before going into, Danny Burns, a new signing, a late Christmas present if you have it. We're also going to talk about November's Player of the Month, because obviously we've had a little bit of a break due to, Christmas time's really busy anyway, but I know Luke's been really busy with work. I've also been really busy with university work, and there's been a lot of 9 till 2 o'clock in the morning, 9 a.m. to 2 o'clock starts for me. So, we've just not had time really. And then we'll look ahead to Frickley and then into, do a review of the year. For looking ahead to 2022, where I'm sure we've got a couple of New Year's resolutions, Luke.
Yeah, you always love to have a few resolutions at the start of the year. It's something that gets your mind back into the swing of things and gives you something to strive for. So yeah, hopefully, I think hopefully for Worksop, resolutions to get up into the playoffs, and I think we're more than capable of doing that. Myself, I think hopefully the new year is going to be a good one for everyone.
Yeah, the one thing you need to do when you get resolutions is stick with it, and normally it's it's the common one is to lose weight, and then there's still a tub of celebrations left that are eyeing you up, so you end up breaking it on day 2. But anyway, let's get into it.
Something tells me I'm into something good. Something tells me I'm into something. Woke up this morning feeling fine.
Worksop Town 1-3, Cleethorpes Town. Let's start with the first half, Luke, before we go into that change. What were your thoughts on the initial beginning?
I thought we got hit by surprise how organised they were. You could just see on the pitch when they were organising each other. Everyone seemed to be on the same page. There were no confusion. I think we started off really slow. Couldn't deal with him. I think it were very good professional performance from the first half, but the second half we changed it up slightly, and it worked. And they couldn't deal with us in the second half. I mean, it could have been 4-5-1 at the end. I mean, the chances were created, but yeah, it was a great game to watch.
They got through a couple of times. I remember in the first 5 minutes, I think. There were a ball over the top that I think Sam Topless hit into the side netting, and then Macaulay Snellgrove snuck through as well, forced a good save out of Seb, and also I think is it Jack McNemini? No, that's every time I see his name, especially when he were at Lincoln that other year. I just wanted that.
I know it's not an easy one to spell.
I mean, we have tannoy problems anyway, so I just didn't. I didn't want to sound like a car starting up when I was doing team announcements, Jack McNemon. So, but anyway, he got through, and joint work from Dan Burns and and Sen Malkowski kept him out. And once they got the goal, I don't know if you were in the same ilk, but I just felt a little bit worried just because of how good they did look.
Yeah, I was very worried. I thought, oh no, this is going to be it's going to be a big score. This, because you couldn't see a way out for us at the time. I mean, it were worrying, like you say, not just on our part, but on how good they was and how brilliant they were and slick they were going forward. The pass, the movement, the passing was on par, and yeah, they were unlucky to not be more than 1-0 up at that time.
From the games that you've seen, would you argue that it is why they're up there at the minute? To continue being organised, unchallenged, and keep going.
Yeah, I think they seem to have a system that works for them. I mean, if it's worked at Sandy Lane the other day, I'm sure it's been working majority of the season. Like you said, they wouldn't be above us in the league if they wouldn't have some kind of form or some kind of quality. And they just showed the quality that you need up there, and I think that's kind of shown to Parry and the lads what kind of levels they need. I don't think they need to be shown that, but I think it was a good game to understand the quality at the top level of the league.
And I mean, if you look at the top 4 now, anyway, if I can get it up, we've played second, Mask, and put in a commendable performance. Shildon, we beat them. Stockton in 4th, we beat them as well, and 5th, Cleethorpes. We've now beat them. They were on a run of, I think, 8 games unbeaten on the road. They'd lost, I think, their opening travelling fixture, but they obviously they didn't get their 9th in a row because a half-time substitution occurred. Aaron Sennett-Nielsen was brought on for Cody Cromack, and what an inspiration!
Like they made a switch at half time. It was just that one change, and just changed the system around slightly, and brought Aaron was very aggressive with the ball going forward. Wanted to get us into them positions to get a goal. He's a positive player, and he would be a nightmare to play against because he comes in, he goes on outside, then he'll come back on inside, and you can really get, if you're not don't know what you're doing position wise, you can be really caught out, and I think that happened a lot in the second half. But yeah, I thought it was much better. We controlled the game, we dominated it, we dictated play, and yeah, it was a really good second half performance.
I think in terms of the change, as you mentioned, it brought more width, and that's what I think we've lacked a little bit in the past weeks, and it was the right time. A lot of managers maybe would have left that to 60 minutes, but I think Paz is more bold, and he's quite good with these changes. We've seen it before where he made the triple change at Brighouse, and that changed the game, and he's made 1 or 2 others. He also, with bringing Cody off, I know Pico said that he'd not been having a bad game at all, but you have to make these changes, and I think sacrificing Cody allowed Broadhead to sort of drop into that defensive midfield role, but allowed us as well to play more attacking, as in he will be there to drop deep and win headers and win possession in midfield, but he can also get forward because he plays in a box-to-box position anyway. But I think that just allowed the transition better, especially with the fullbacks bombing up. And Vaughan Redford dropped into a number 10 position, which allowed the front 3 to sort of interchange. And I mentioned the fullbacks. It came from one of them, the equaliser, and my word, what an equaliser it was from a very unlikely source. Yeah,
I mean, it caught everyone by surprise. I think, it set off a chain of events in the second half where it was just going, everything was going right for us, and Jake was, he cut inside and hit it. I mean, he said it was just completely. It was just such a great goal. It was he just cut inside, hit it on his left foot as well, even his weaker foot, and to hit it a sweet shot like that was just amazing.
I mean, with defenders, then especially, he's played majority of his games as a centre half. In fact, he's only been these last 3 games where he's pretty much played as a right back. You're expecting, a header or something from a set piece, but it was such a good goal, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, he was running forward. He was positive. He was running at the defenders, and to coincide onto his left foot and hit a shot into the top corner. I mean, it was still sailing into the top corner. It wasn't like dipping down. It was one of the sweetest strikes I think I've ever seen at Sandy Lane.
Yeah, there's and also I'm not sure when this podcast will be out, but on our YouTube, on our Facebook and Twitter, we've got a little compilation of goals that we scored in 2021, and there's some absolute crackers that I forgot about. Mainly, it's like a goal of the season contest between Aaron, Liam Hardy, and Alex, and one player that's got into double figures now is Stephen Mcdonald. 2 goals. The other 2 goals were impressive moves coming from Worksop being more aggressive. Obviously, Connor Smythe won possession deep. They countered with Vaughan Redford releasing Aaron Nielsen. Sennett's ball into the middle was really fluffed by the goalkeeper, but Macca showed an endeavour to get to the ball first and head it in despite 2 high boots, should we say. And you've got to be pleased for Macca in them situations. He works hard, doesn't he?
Yeah, Macca's an hard worker. He's strong. He's powerful. He's, like you said, double figures now, so it shows he can be clinical in front of goal. He's shown that time and time again. But what I have been happy with this season as well is the relationship between Sennett Nielsen and Macca in certain parts of this season. I remember in the second half, there was I can't remember which game it was, where Aaron's just sprayed this ball over from one side of pitch to Macca on the other, and he's just volleyed into the top corner. It was just, I'm guessing that's maybe one of the goal contenders we're going to talk about later, but it just shows that them two connect. I mean, and Alex was also instrumental in that second half as well. But Aaron was just Aaron's movement and his balls across, they were just so deadly. But Macca were just there. I prefer him in the middle of the box because he is clinical. He can put them chances away, and he just shows how much of a good player Macca is.
I think he's come on a lot since Parry came in. I think Parry's got we knew Macca and what he could do, especially in his NCL days and that first season under KJ. But I think sometimes it can be a bit of a not a loose cannon. I think that's not the right term to use, but I think he could sort of get his head down and keep the ball to himself. Yeah. Now he's starting to become a less selfish, and he's giving opposition players something to deal with his bullish runs, but he's also picking out smart passes and making right decisions. And you mentioned his clinicalness. He has got a tendency to miss 1 or 2 sitters, but he more than makes up with the goals he's already scored. You mentioned about Aaron, and obviously, he was probably one of the a standout player on that game, but another player, especially in the week where we all know Baxendale signed for Sheffield FC. Paz came out in his interview after the Kiverton friendly and said that he's not going to be able to guarantee him game time, but he wants to focus on these 2 young players in Aaron and Alex Starchenko. And when something like that is said, your following game where them 2 players shine, it must give you a lot of confidence.
Yeah, because I mean, it shows. I mean, Bax is a fantastic player, and it was sorry to see him go. But unfortunately, these things happen in football, and it's not always as straightforward as what people think. But I think for them 2 lads, it just shows that they'll add so much confidence going into that game because of, like you said, what Parry said after the game about game time, which means that he's got his trust in them two type of players, and they've repaid him in that second half. They've shown what they're capable of. They've shown they can play against the big boys in this league, and long may that continue because I think they're 2 exciting players for Worksop.
I think I've definitely seen a different side to Aaron, and I think we've already waxed lyrical anyway of him. But Alex Starchenko just seems to get more elegant every game. He glides across the pitch, as I've already mentioned a lot of times, but he's just fantastic to watch. And the way that he is very aggressive in the press. He won the ball off of their player and then ran down the wing, put a perfect ball into Maka with his weak foot as well.
Yeah.
And I think we just, every game, we're thinking, wow, what a player we've got on our hands with Alex Starchenko.
Yeah, he's magnificent. He just goes past players like they're not there, and it's just natural to him to just get the ball and run and beat defenders and create chances. And for strikers, that's a delight. I mean, like you said, the ball across was with his weaker foot, and it was a beautiful ball across. He's one of those players. Also, he can also score goals as well as create goals. I mean, we've seen some cracking goals he's scored this season. I think we've missed him when he were out, when he was injured for that period. We really missed that creativity in that midfield. Someone's going to get onto the ball and drag us over that line. And I just think he's an exciting player. A lot of these players like Alex and Aaron and Maka, it's a hat off to Parry because they are improved players now, that's got to be down to the coaching staff, not just Parry, but the whole coaching staff. And it's great to see.
Yeah, as you mentioned, he does link up well with other players. I mean, his 2 goals against Handsworth last month, he linked up well with Vaughan Redford in there. There's already a little bit of a bond between him and Liam Hardy. And when you've got these creative players around them, surely someone like Liam will benefit massively from that. In terms of that second half as well, I think one of my the biggest positives for me as well was just how we smothered possession. And every time they got through, the defence just seems to take a lot more of a confidence to shut them out, and they didn't really threaten. And when they did, they sort of just got these half chances that were easily dealt with. Were there any other standout players for you, Luke? I've got one in mind, but I just wanted to pose the question to you first.
Yeah, I think even Liam Hardy's work rate in that second half was good. His movement was good. I mean, he come off. I think it was in between the second and third goal. Was it? I think. But I thought he was just as good. I think he created space for Maka and that to run into, and they were. I thought. Thinking about it now, I liked Watto at back. I thought he was instrumental after obviously that awful injury he sustained against Sheffield FC. But luckily he came off okay. I just thought he was solid at the back. Seb was fantastic, commanding his box. And I thought overall it was a good performance. But what was your standout performance that you was thinking of?
I think it's the last 2 names you mentioned there.
Yeah.
Seb Malkowski. I think we say it every time when we talk about Seb. We mentioned when Tiernan went back, we weren't worried because we knew that Seb would be there, and Seb's got to be one of the best goalkeepers in this league. By far, he's still playing like he's a professional in Poland again. He's fantastic, and say he's 34, he's still really flexible. really, his reactions are absolutely spot on. Made 2 great saves in the first, 2 or 3 good saves in the first half, and were just really good in the second half in terms of being switched on, ready for a couple of attacks. I think he made another good save from a header. But Adam Watson again, we've already spoke about how good he's been since he came into the club. The injury to Sheffield FC was very, very worrying. And he's already explained in the interview after the Kiverton match where he scored 4 as a number 9, which I didn't think we'd see. When we announced him, he said that he could play either as a centre back or a striker.
Yeah.
And we saw him as a centre half, and we're thinking, wow, yeah, why would you have him up front because of his qualities? But he actually showed that he could be a decent target man. I mean, he won everything in the air, and his headers were measured, and some absolutely beautiful goals. But to go from the situation, 14 days prior?
Yeah.
No, actually 16 days prior, because we played on Monday. Despite every time I go on to put our results in, I keep thinking it's on the Saturday. But it's just this time of year, which I'm sure if Dan Richards is listening, he'll batter me for saying that. You just don't know what day it is, but it's true. Just moving on now. Let's hear from Paz and Pico about their thoughts on the performance.
I think it's probably a game of two halves, really. I think obviously we know Cleethorpes are one of the best sides in the league, and I think first half they showed why they are. If I'm honest, I think the first 45 minutes probably the best side I think we've probably come against, really. I think a good mix of what you need at this level, and we struggled to come to terms with it. But we made a little slight change at half time in the formation, and it's probably our best performance at season. I think the second half I thought were magnificent, from the goalkeeper all the way through the side. It was a great performance second half, and I think over the course of the game, I think a deserved win.
And bringing Senna on at half time, how much of an impact did that have on the side going into the second half?
Yeah, Alex, I've been more fortunate to dip out the side recently, to be honest with you. He's probably been one of our main players all season. But he come on half time. Again, he helped us because we felt they pinned us back in, and we didn't really have the width. So the second half we wanted to just make a change and get the width, and he's the ideal person for it. Hugging the touch lines, getting at the full backs, and putting crosses in the box. And you see, he's done that. He creates an assist and creates a goal.
And we've won 5 on the bounce now at home in all competitions. Yeah. How impressed have you been with the recent performances in the league at home? And do you feel comfortable in front of a home crowd now? Would you say?
Yeah. I think again, it's just game by game. We have to manage the game. We have to watch how the game develops. I think we're fortunate where we have a squad where we can we kind of mix it up into two systems and drilling, and we've got to manage that and be able to take it and judge each game as it comes at home. And I don't think there's a game yet at home where we haven't had obstacles to come against, and I think today shows it. But I think it's like you said, 5 wins on the bounce. We go away to Frickley now. We're one of the form teams in the league, and it was my main speech before the game. We've got to come into the new year where every side in the top 4, 5, 6, hopefully we're in that pack, don't want to play us, because I feel that we've got to set a group of lads in there and the players that we've got. I think if we can get on to start building momentum, I think we're a match for any side in this league. But you've got to keep building that momentum. You've got to keep doing the right things, and today shows it again on his own patch, on our pitch, and I thought the boys did well at the end of the day.
So Jake, a 3-1 victory over Cleethorpes Town. Before we talk about that moment, what were your thoughts on the overall performance?
I thought we started off quite well. We just lost his way again. We just get a bit nervous, and then we conceded a goal, and we just lost it a little bit. But we regrouped at half time, and I thought second half we played really well. I thought we played really well, and we deserved it.
With the change at half time, how much do you think that inspired the momentum?
Yeah, I just think just a little change, mixed it up a little bit. I don't think Cody were playing bad. I don't think he deserved to come off. I thought he did well, but sometimes just a little change made a big difference, and he did. We were really on the front foot, and we looked good. We looked good second half.
What do you think did change though in that sort of swing?
I don't know really. I don't know. I mean, we're a good side. Sometimes we just need a kick up backside really to get us going, and I think we got that at half time, and that's sometimes all it takes. We just need to be more consistent.
Obviously 4 minutes after half time, where on earth did that come from?
It's been coming, that left foot. Just brought it inside and it opened up, so I thought why not have a go, and it literally, like I said, flew to top corner, so can't complain with that one. Good goal.
And obviously some of the lads
don't stop many so I can say good goal.
Some of the lads are already giving you a little bit of banter about it. And when Turners went in against Brighouse, we asked him the same question: was it a shot or cross?
That was a shot. Turns were a cross, 100%. That were a shot, brought it inside and shot. And I think anybody who knows me knows I love a shot. And usually at left foot they go flying off at bar and nowhere near. So I would do one. It took a while, but I'm due one.
And with obviously that sort of the change, Do you think it needed something like that?
Obviously? I think so, yeah. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it's a big tackle or it's something like that, just something out of blue, a bit of a moment. So, yeah, I think that did fire us up, and then we didn't look back really from there.
And how good was it to see that instead of us, just taking that goal, actually stepping on it and taking control of the game?
Great. We need to keep doing that. This was a big game today, really big game against a good side. And if we want to be where they are, we needed to win today. We've just got to take the momentum now into Frickley and keep going, really. Second half of the season, big push. Who knows what can happen? We know we can beat anybody on this day. So, yeah, it's a good start.
And with that, ending the year with 3 points, as captain, what are you hoping from your side in 2022?
Want to finish as high as we can. We've got to aim for the top still. There's nobody really, not massively running away with it. I know it's a long ask, but if we aim for the top and we end up top 5, 6, well, top 5, hopefully that's what we want to be. That's what we're aiming for. We're not here to be mid-table. We're not here to be fighting relegation. We want to win things, and that's every single player and management and everyone.
I suppose with a win today, obviously Cleethorpes were 4th, 10 points in front of us. Obviously narrowed that gap down to 7. We've still got a game in hand over them. It's today a really, really big result.
It was a really big result. It was a really big game for us. We needed to get 3 points, and it didn't matter how we got it. But I thought second half, like I said, we did play really well. But it was a massive, massive game, and 3 points were vital today.
Moving on now, Luke. One player we didn't mention on purpose, though, just to leave him for this little bit, was Danny Burns.
Yeah.
Made his first start for the Tigers after signing on Thursday or Friday. What were your thoughts on his performance?
Yeah, very impressed. First impressions, I thought he was solid. Certainly in the second half, he looks like a leader. Like I said in the interview, he's a no-nonsense defender, which is brilliant. I think it takes pressure off some of the centre backs as well. It gives them some added competition, I think, as well, which will also raise the game, hopefully. And I think he's going to be a good player for Worksop, and it was good to see him perform like that in front of a record crowd.
He definitely, I think he'll admit, the first 15 minutes, I think he looked a little bit shaky, but I think anyone that's just thrown into a new side, it's going to be like that. And obviously we're playing at Frickley, so he's, the quality from going from there to here is going to be, it's going to increase. He's also, but as soon as he stepped into it, and I think the goal sort of gave him a little kick up the backside to say, look, you got to switch on at all times. Played against Cleethorpes, and we need you. And he basically came in. Then he had that little shake. After that, dominant in the air, comfortable on the ball. It also adds a little bit of cover to the defence. He said about Paz's small squad. And he, as he mentioned, he doesn't want to be managing 18 to 20 players. He wants a small squad where it's competitive, but every player's involved. And with his options in there, I should imagine he'll be coming in and trying to start every week. But he's also got that cover there where, Gibbo's to come back from, testing positive. There's, Pico can drop into centre half. Deegan can drop into centre half. We've got a lot more cover there, which is a little bit more relaxing, should we say, with the amount of injuries we've had.
Yeah, it's been important because, like I said, we've had a lot of injuries throughout the season at the back. There's always been at least someone out. And I think, like you've just mentioned there, Deegan and Pico, like we mentioned earlier, that's been put into this fullback role. I think it's important that they can play a couple of positions because it takes the pressure off of if we get injuries, because then we've got other players then that can fill into that role and do a job while they're absent. I think another centre back's definitely what we've needed. We've got some very important games coming up, and I just feel with Parry working on certain things at the back with his backroom staff, I think it's paying off now.
So before we move on, let's hear from Mr. Burns.
Welcome, Sandy Lane. What was your take on your first game for the club?
No, I think it's a good start, to be fair. First half we knew we could have done way better. That's what got said in the changing room, but come out firing second half. Got a nice goal early doors. big curly toe. I don't know. Paco, if he scores a lot, I don't know. But nah, we were on the front foot all the second half, so really, yeah.
And your recent move, what made you move to Sandy Lane? What was the process?
Well, I come here pre-season, had a look around and stuff like that, but probably wasn't the right time at the minute. But I've seen that the club's flying, going in the right direction, so too hard to not turn down, to be honest.
And do you have any personal ambitions while you're at the club, what you want to achieve, or have you just...
Well, I've seen that we're pretty much near the playoffs, so that's probably the aim, to be honest. Get up there. Yeah.
And is there anything from your previous experiences that you'll take into playing at this level?
I just think I'm pretty much an old school centre half, so I'll do the dirty work while the other lads, they can pass it about and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, I can pass it a little bit, but clean sheets are the main goal. Shame not to get one today, but we'll go again New Year's Day.
And there's a big crowd here today. How impressed was you with the
yeah,
turnout?
It is a very good turnout, and when I played here earlier in the season it was exactly the same, so it is a good following.
And Dan Burns made his debut today. How important is he going to be in the side, and was you impressed with his first appearance for the club?
Yeah, I thought Dan did very well. I thought the back four, I thought first half I think we were just slightly too deep, but second half we took the responsibilities off him in going forward and just wanted him to defend, and I thought they did really well the second half, and I thought Dan in the middle of the back four, took charge, dominated alongside Watto in there, and I thought they were two dominant performances, and both full-backs, I must say. I think Jay Picton and Connor, I think is probably they should be, the confidence for them two should be flying into the next game, because I think for their performance the second half alongside the two centre-halves, including Dan, I think were magnificent. I think both of them handled very good players very well.
Right then, the President's Club Player of the Month. Obviously in December we only had one game after postponements and that Sheffield FC game being abandoned. So that month's votes are going to be moved into the January, the hectic schedule we've got. So that must, surely that's going to make it more open, and then we'll not get two back-to-back months again, which, fair play to the player that won it in November, seeing as we've not had a podcast to sort of have, talk about him. But Liam Hardy has won the award for November. He scored 4 goals in 5 games, 2 against Bridlington, 1 against Mask, and 1 against Handsworth. He won the October award after a few games, but impressive start. How do you think he's handled this sort of past month?
I think he's been brilliant. I think he's been one of the standout players this month. He knows he's got an eye for goal. He's hit the ground running since he's really joined. You could just see his movements. Like I mentioned earlier, his movement's brilliant, because he'll run out wide, he'll run in behind defenders. He'll make so many different runs, and it must be a nightmare for defenders to read, because he's not easy to mark against, because he's a clever footballer. He knows where he wants the ball. Players are confident in him, so they'll play the ball into him, and I think he's deserved the Player of the Month, because his goals have been vital. He's scored some really good goals for us already, and I'm really happy really hopeful for the future. William Hardy at this football club.
He is certainly one of the best forwards that I've seen at Sandy Lane for Worksop Town. I mean, there's one player, well, 2 players, one's at Chesterfield, Tom Denton, and then the other one that we'll probably get onto in a little bit, as soon as he's at Frickley now, Leon Metham. Them 2 are obviously going to be unchallenged in my mind, I think, due to what they brought. But Liam Hardy's definitely running close. I think, obviously, he's playing at a level below where we saw Metham and Denton, but he certainly passes the traits of a forward in the Northern Premier Division. And he's certainly not dropped any sort of quality. He's kept them high standards up, and he's a forward that, when we've not been the best in the last couple of months, and he's managed to dig us out of that with his vital goals, and that you can see that. Well, I mean, he's one of the best forwards at this division, and he's even admitted that he wants to go for that golden boot. He's currently, I think, is 12 behind Adam Boyes at the minute, which is not impossible, but Adam Boyes of Mask seems to be just scoring every week. He's on 36 all competitions for the season, which is crazy. But it's just good to have that sort of player that you can depend on for goals. And it's not just his goal scoring; it's his work rate in between the lines as well.
He's an hard worker. He won't just sit around and wait for something to happen. He'll make something happen. And I think with that mindset, it helps us when we're going forward, because, I mean, if say, like, for example, if he's running down the wing and he pulls a defender out, then there's a gap for Starchenko or whichever centre midfielder to run into that space, and then all of a sudden you've got, but even if you give him the ball, he can create a chance and score, and he's a nightmare. But I think he's it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the future.
It's also going to be interesting to see what tally he finishes on. I wish we had him from the first game of the season, but he's already scored. I mean, he scored 7 for Hyde before joining us. He scored 6 already for Worksop. He's starting to creep up the table a little bit in terms of that. And if you add the goals for the season, he's already on 12. So I'm not sure how the Northern Premier League, work out the goals in terms of top scorers, but I know on the chart that they put out, he's on 12 with 7 from Hyde. So it's going to be interesting. We'll 13, I should say. Hold on. Yeah, 13. My maths is. You can tell why I've not been to school for a bit. But let's move on now, because there's a pretty big game happening on New Year's Day, which is tomorrow. From where we're recording, hopefully we'll get this out tonight, so you can preview that game properly. Frickley Athletic, then, Luke, we sort of owe them one for what happened last time.
Yeah, that were a tough pill to swallow, that, because, I mean, it were a tight game. It could have gone either way. We were pushing for that winner, and then when as soon as Liam come on it, it's in the back of your mind, then he's going to score the winner, isn't he? He's going to stick one to all us, and because since he's left, and that's exactly what happened, weren't it? You just seen him go through, and your heart just dropped, and yeah, that were a tough afternoon for us. But I think we're a much more mature side since then. I think we're playing much better. So I think it'll be interesting to see what kind of performance we give, and it would be nice to get one over them on their patch.
Yeah, that was for any Worksop fan, I think, heartbreaking to see somebody that's got legend status at the club. Scored them 50 goals in that one season, and the season before he was still top scorer, not in the league, but for us, I think he scored 86 in 2 years, and then scored a couple when he came back the other year. But he's just a legend, and just to see him score was heartbreaking, and you just knew it was going to happen. He's a maverick, and he's them moments is where you need someone like Leon Mettam that you can chuck off he can come off at bench, get you a goal. It's sort of what Carl Jordan was to us for a few years. And he's still got absolute quality. You never lose that skill, do you? And that anticipation. And unfortunately, it fell to us. And he grabbed the headlines and then complained about it because we didn't put anything out on social media afterwards. Which we don't do any highlights anyway. So just bit of a strange comment. But we'll move on. They have played 17 games since since they beat us. Only won 1 league game and 1 cup game since. They're on a bit of a downward spiral. Their last game, they lost 2-0 to Pontefract on Monday. Things just don't seem all too well, Luke.
Yeah, I think when you get results like that, you see some sides you've seen them before, where they've just gone and had just a terrible run where just either looks not going their way, they've defending badly, or they're just not performing to the levels that you need to in these leagues. And I think with it, they'll want to try and get one over. So I would imagine it'll be a tight game because they'll want to contain us. They'll not want us to play football, and they'll try and edge the victory again like they did at Sandy Lane. I think that probably will be the mindset. But as a Frickley fan, I would be very worried with that stats that you've just read out there. For any football fan, that's a frightening stat to face.
Yeah, they currently sit 14th at the minute. They are, quick maths here, 7 points above the relegation zone. So they will be worried. I think that's an understatement, actually. Yeah. But, Frickley have been a side that they either always seem to be challenging down at the bottom or just mid-table. They've had a couple of playoff seasons where I think it was 2017 or 18 where they finished in the playoffs and lost to Stamford in the semi-finals. I know me, Rich, Nelson and Dino all went down there to watch it, and I think Dan Burns started for Frickley that day on loan from where would he be on loan from? I think from Buxton. So he definitely knows the place. We've got a lot of connections between us and Frickley. Obviously, Pico was captain there, and it's going to be a tasty one. That's all we can say. They've got lost a few players since we played them, including Dan Burns. So there's a lot of rivalry in this, and it's a game that Worksop fans always look to have. First look at. Is when we're playing them away, and it could be a very feisty affair, Luke.
Yeah, it's going to be. There's biggest rivals in this league. Like you mentioned, we always look out for the fixture when we're playing Frickley. There's a bit of rivalry there, and I think it'll be a tight, tough game, like a local derby centre feel to it. I think it'll be interesting to see how we deal with it, how we deal with them as a side, whether we've learnt from as last time we've played them, and I think it'll be interesting to see how it will pan out, whether it'll be tight or whether the floodgates will open. I don't know, but I'm expecting. I'm wanting. We're obviously wanting the 3 points. We need it. We need to keep winning games and keep the pressure on the top five.
Yeah, we've got a bit of momentum at the minute anyway. I think we said 5 games on the bounce. I think it's now. Yeah. It was actually 6. We're on. That's his home form, and away from home things have tailed off a little bit. Obviously we've lost his last 2 away games against Lincoln and Marsk, which the Marsk one was very close to being a draw. Definitely deserves something out of that. And his last away, and obviously the game before that was a draw with Brighouse, which arguably we could have lost by a lot because of that first half performance, but the second half we should have won. And could have, I think there were a few, like fine margins at the end. And his last away victory came on the 2nd of October against Pickering Town. So it would be nice to get back into the swing of things and get back on the on track on the road. But you've got, we've only played 4 away games in that period, which is strange to think, but it's this time of year in it where where a lot of games are getting postponed and stuff like that. But yeah, 3 points would be very welcomed, considering how tight it is now. Obviously, Cleethorpes, we got a bit of ground on them, and we got 2 games in hand, but there's still a lot of catching to do to get in that final playoff spot.
I think we've got a couple of games in hand. I think if we win them, we go to a point behind them at the minute, and I think if we can kind of catch them up a bit more this weekend, then we win them games in hand. Then we don't just catch up by a point. We can leapfrog them hopefully into the playoffs. Just got to keep this momentum going, and if we stumble a little bit, we've got to pick ourselves back up and get back on it, because a couple of results and you're back up there again. And I think it's going to be an interesting end to the season where this is going to go. I think it'll go down to the wire.
Yep, and I mean, going to Frickley, it's never an easy place to go. The ground is, it's not falling apart, but it's an old-fashioned non-league ground.
Yeah.
The pitch is very boggy. And Frickley, just naturally, there's a bit of bitterness and spite towards Worksop anyway through the fan rivalry. So it should make for an interesting watch, and hopefully we can be on the positive side of that.
And Frickley New Year's Day, what kind of game are you expecting from that?
Yeah, we've been out and watched Frickley over the last couple of games. It's a tough place to go, tough side. Very physical, very dominant in what they do. And there'll be, they've got an experienced manager in there, an experienced management team really that's in there. That'll set themselves up to be difficult to beat, but also to try and take the game to us. So we expect nothing more than an extremely difficult game, and one that we've got to prepare right for. We'll be in this week training very hard and setting ourselves up, looking how we can combat and combat their strengths and try and take the game to them.
As you mentioned, Frickley, how much are you looking forward to that one?
Yeah, good game. Nice ground where I used to play. It'll be a good game. It'll be a tough game, as always when you play against Frickley. But we're up for it. We're ready, and it'll be a good game. And we're ready to go.
As you mentioned, obviously your former club, but is there a little bit of bite and / redemption in there after what happened here?
Yeah, that were a disappointing game. That were really poor. I mean, we look back at some of the games that we've had, and if we'd have won those, we'd have been in a different position now to where we are. I mean, we're not in a bad position, but we could be a lot higher up. No, I don't think so. We're just going to go into every game, try and win, and it's another big game for us that we've got to try and get 3 points.
But tonight, before fireworks tomorrow on the pitch, there's going to be a lot of fireworks tonight. It's New Year's Eve. We go into a new year. New year, new me, as a lot of people like to post on Facebook, which is absolutely cringy as hell. If you just wanted to take it back for the year, it's been a very strange one. Obviously, because of COVID, I was going to try and go month by month, but obviously for several months, there's nothing that happened. In January, obviously, Craig Rouse left to go to Pontefract, who seem to have, turned a little bit of a corner now. They're starting to pick up a few results, which is, nice to see from their perspective. But for us, we want to keep winning. And Baxendale was promoted to the management team. That's all that happened really in them first months up into April. In April, then we had the behind closed doors saga and friendlies, which was good for us to be able to watch football and try and report from an objective point of view. But just not having no fans there until the last two games was just not very nice to have. But it allowed the club to get the changing rooms fully built, and wow, doesn't Sandy Lane look beautiful now anyway?
Oh, it's magnificent. I mean, I've seen people that have come down for the first time throughout 2021, and they've just been impressed by the work that's gone off. I mean, we've got a brand new stand around behind the where we are now. It's with a good media box. You've got a nice barrier with obviously the 4G pitch. The dressing rooms are just absolutely outstanding. We've got a lovely treatment room as well. We've got a nice walkout for Worksop to come out. I think everything has just been brilliant in the last 12 months for Worksop. It's just been a shame with COVID that we can't finish. That we've not been managed to finish last season. But I'll be very surprised if it's null and voided this year. I don't think it will, because I just think I think it's important that the season finishes and that we go on and then we kick on and go on, and there's no stopping of the leagues, because it means a lot to people, and it's sad to see that last two have been null and voided. So hopefully, it's been a good year, and I'm looking forward to 2022.
Obviously, we've had talked a little bit there, and obviously we'll talk a bit more about 2022 and its hopes and stuff. But as you mentioned, it's just beautiful to see. And I think if we'd have recorded this podcast a week or two, well, probably a week ago, we'll be more concerned about a lockdown and another null and void season. However, them talks are starting to quieten a little bit, and things are starting to I want to say turn a corner, but you know how frantic Johnson can be.
Yeah.
So hopefully we don't get into another situation where we're looking at a season which is wasted again. In terms of the games for Worksop, obviously July and August brought a lot of optimism with how we were playing in pre-season. I know them final games against Walsall and Huddersfield, we were looking in a position where we thought, wow, we're going to blow teams out of the water. Didn't start too well with Yorkshire Amateurs, that loss against Yorkshire Amateur, but followed that up with a win against Sheffield FC. Then we had the 2 games against Eastwood. We played Stockton away and beat them, but then obviously the Frickley result I will not mention too much. It feels like it's been a slow start to the season, but in retrospect, I feel like we've actually had quite a good 2021. Obviously a 50% win rate in all competitions, and I feel like we've been a little bit better. We've picked up results where we're still gelling as a side.
Yeah, I think in the last few months, I think he's seemed to have got some players in that are going to be vital for us going forward. I think if we can keep injury free, I think we could really be a strong opponent for the playoffs, and not just for the playoffs, to win the playoffs. And I think on and off the field, everything seems to be clicking now, and it's good to see. And I think 2022 will be another great year for Worksop, I'm sure. And I think everyone at the club is excited for what's going to happen.
Before we go into 2022, I put a post on the forum last night, which has got one response from Mick West, which I understand because it was done very, very last minute. So apologies for that. Normally we'll give a couple of days to people to answer, but I asked several things about best performance, best favourite goal, stuff like that. So this is what Mick West has put. He put for best performance. He put, since I missed the clean match, I would go for Pickering away, weathered an early bit of pressure, and then totally controlled the game, which was a fantastic game. His favourite goal was Liam Bateman's goal against Sheffield FC. And he also said Bates was his best player, and will be like a new signing when he comes back from injury. His favourite moment was the signing of an old-fashioned centre-forward in Liam Hardy. And the thing he's looking forward to most in 2022 is the team reaching its full potential, going on a run and finishing third, which is great expectations there. Luke, so I'm going to pose these questions to you.
Yep.
What in your opinion, obviously, because of other things happening, I think we've both missed a few games and it's been more sporadic. But
yeah, what
has been, in your opinion, your best Worksop's best performance of 2021?
I think the second half against Cleethorpes was there probably the best performance I've seen. But over 90 minutes, I like the Shildon game. I thought 90 minutes. It was a proper game of football. I thought it were two quality sides at top, trying to just outdo the other, and I just thought it were a very professional and disciplined performance in a time when at home we were struggling for results, and we were thinking, oh, we'd take a draw today because at home we've not been that good. And I just think it proved to everyone that result, just how good we can be and how we can play in front of his home fans. And I think after that result, we kind of kicked on at home, and we grew confidence more at home after that result.
I'd have to agree. I think the performance that in my mind was Shildon. I think, like you mentioned, it was just two good sides really playing against each other. Built a bit of atmosphere as well. Shildon brought a few fans down. Worksop obviously backed in numbers. Yeah. And I think just they had two forwards who had scored a combined 24 goals, I think, so far this season. Didn't really get a sniff. No. The first goal was a bit poor to concede, but I mean, we've said how many times we've said that from Worksop this year. But yeah, the actual spirit to actually not let them get carried away, which they have done this season, with results. For us to stay tight again, Lewis Gibbons and Adam Watson scored from set pieces, and I think overall just the controlling of the ball was absolutely fantastic, and I quite enjoyed it. I think we've had good second half performances, like you mentioned. The second half against Hebburn was absolutely brilliant. I mean, Zayn Hakeem, who's obviously moved on now, scored an absolute belting goal. I think there were times where, first half against Ossett we were fantastic, but second half tailed off. Again, Pickering Town performance was fantastic. I think one of my favourite games, I think one of my favourite moments and games of the season was actually Stockton Town away, considering how they'd not lost at home for about 2.5 years, and we went there, got obviously a 1-0 result, put in an absolutely hard grafted performance and deserved the win ultimately. But yeah, moving on before we go on to moment. Favourite goal, Luke?
Yeah, I got it wrong earlier. I do apologise. It was Macca's ball over to Aaron, who side foot volley. It was a great goal. That I think the angle that we had from the media box was bang behind it, and it was brilliant. It was just such a great goal. The ball didn't even touch the floor, and before it hit the net, and it was just a great, well worked goal.
I think one that goes under the radar a little bit was the Alex Starchenko volley against Tadcaster. Sort of just fell to him. He took one touch and then smashed it. Caught the keeper really off guard. But there's the one that obviously got the volley there, and Pico's goal will probably be up there as well.
I've got another one.
Go on.
When Bax lobbed the keeper at Pickering, that was a great goal.
That was fantastic.
I mean, the keeper passed it to him, but to execute that was just amazing.
I mean, that was Baxter's forte, wasn't it? Yeah, the chip. He's done a couple of them. I remember the one at Garforth Town, and it left me and Glyn going, "Wow, we've got a really quality player on his hands." I think my pick though would be another Aaron Sennett Nielsen finish, but it would be the one against Eastwood to put us 4-3 up. He sort of obviously Zayn held off his marker and passed it into Aaron's feet. Aaron sort of did he dropped his shoulder, took one touch, and then bent it into the top corner. It was the flowing move was absolutely fantastic. But I'm also a sucker for a good header. So the Adam Watson goal against Shildon was absolutely it was up there as well. But I'm going to go for the Seno goal against Eastwood, and I'm sure. I mean, the confidence is flowing through Aaron, so hopefully he can give us a couple more bangers in 2022 and make a good goal of the season competition when we get round to it. Let's moving on. Obviously, it's probably we've mentioned Aaron there for the goal, but who's been your best player so far in 2021?
Starchenko. I think for me, I think he's so important to the side. I think when he's out, we really miss him because of the creativity and the goals that he produces. It's tough because there's a lot of players. Liam Hardy with his goals and how well he's been. I mean, we mentioned it earlier. I think Deegan's been fantastic. I think he's grown up and been a great player. You mentioned Seb. Seb's a great keeper. But for me, I just think Starchenko's we've missed him when he's not been in the side. And it just makes you appreciate him even more when he's not there because of how good he is. What about yourself?
Yeah, I think I'm tempted between. I were going to say Deegan, but I think he's been, he's no matter how good he has been, he's been a bit sporadic as well. And I think Macca tailed off a little bit, but he's been brilliant over the course. I think I'd have to agree with you with Alex Starchenko just because, probably him and the rivalry between him and Aaron for that first month's Player of the Month award was absolutely fantastic. And obviously Deegan pipped in with getting all of the votes in them last two games, which sort of swayed it after it being split. But he's just a different beast, isn't he? This year, he's sort of coming into his own. He's been absolutely fantastic. And, you know, I'm excited to see what can come from him, because obviously he's only 22, 21, 22. He's still got plenty of time to grow, and it's scary what level he could get to with a little bit more experience. And obviously, I think he's just brilliant. He's such a graceful player to watch, and like I said, I'm excited to see what can come from him. Favourite moment then, Luke, of 2021?
I would probably say that second half performance, because last Saturday, the last game, because I just think how worried I was at half time with how well they were playing, and it was a big game for us because Cleethorpes are one of his rivals, but we really needed something from the game. So I just think the second half just made me. There were a lot of relief, a lot of pride, and then also a lot of expectation now because of how the performance we produced. And I just think it does shows that this side's good enough, and we've got what it takes to push on. So I think probably the second half against Cleethorpes, just the manner in how we did it. And with like Dan Burns playing in front of a record crowd, I think that was probably it was great. And plus it's Christmas time, so you're in the jolly mood. You know, you're off work and you're enjoying stuff, and seeing games like that just makes it even better. So the second half performance against Cleethorpes. What about yourself?
I'm not sure what mine might be.
It's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you and Coleman getting hit with a football against Kiverton would be up there.
Yeah. He liked the chant as well against Pickering, weren't it? They started, the fans were chanting his name, and he were loving that, weren't he?
Oh, I think the moments after the Pickering game, well, the second half, would be up there, because obviously we try to be serious with the media, but you know that day we decided, you know, everything were going right for us, and it was such an enjoyable second half. It was absolutely chucking it down, and it felt like a few years ago when we'd obviously stand with away fans and obviously get joining with chants again. Obviously coming as a Worksop lad anyway, we were part of the Barmy Army and stuff like that, so it just felt like it were back to there. Obviously I would be you, Gooders was there as well, Mike, we were all together, and it just felt really, it was a nice moment there. The only other moment I'd probably say would be seeing the changing rooms for the first time this year when they properly opened. I was, you know, not struck to tears, but I was on that emotional edge, and I was like, this is amazing considering where we've come from. I remember, and also, you know, I were in the stand behind the dugouts when that first went up with Rich Nelson and Glyn Howarth, and we were all three of us were just looking at each other thinking, this is amazing. To go from where we were in February 2020 with the debt, to go from that to this, and what Pete's done is tremendous.
Yeah, everyone at the club wants a pat on the back because they've all been brilliant. Everyone's worked together. I think it's made us more closer as a club with what's happened. Unfortunately, some things like this have to happen to bring people closer. Luckily, we've come out of it. We fell on his feet. I mean, Pete's been fantastic. He knows what he's doing. You just got so much trust and faith in him, and because of everything that he's done, and he's like a godlike figure, isn't he, at Worksop at the minute, because he's saved the club and he's saved everyone's what everyone's been doing for the last for the majority of their lives, that are going to Sandy Lane on a Saturday and cheering Worksop on, which was in question whether that was going to happen anymore. And I just think, thank you to Pete, thank you to Parry and the backroom staff and everyone at the club. I think with the directors and everyone, the whole fans, and I think it's been a good year, and hopefully next year we can just kick on. And I think we deserve some kind of like some success going forward. I think people have worked hard, so long may it continue.
I think the story of us dropping out of the Northern Premier Division into the NCL, obviously surviving in the NCL, nearly getting promoted. If it weren't for the juggernaut, which were Shaw Lane, moving on to back seasons of regression, the whole Mark Shaw debacle, Duncan Milligan, just to scare people. We've been too positive in this podcast, so let's bring it down a notch now. Obviously, then the 22 games, getting promoted under Dents, then obviously Dents leaving, Kyle steering the club to sort of just it weren't damage limitation, but he managed to keep us.
It was good experience for Kyle if he wants to go into management as well, because then he's got some kind of management experience, and I think he'll have learned a lot himself, and I think he enjoyed being manager of the club as well, didn't he?
Yeah, but obviously going from that to then the debt, Pete coming in, and then Pete taking us on this journey with Paz, it'd be just a nice fitting end in that 7-year period, for us to be back, get us back into the Northern Premier Division, which at this. There were a few questions, obviously, on whether we could, with the form that we were on a little bit. But I think these last few games and performances have shown that we can compete. And if we can get in them playoff positions, it's anyone's game. It's a lottery, and then we can build for the future. But speaking of the future, 2022, what are you looking to get out of that? What do you think will be happening next year?
I think the mindset will be to get into the playoffs and go as far as we can. Like you said, hopefully we can return back to where we were 7 years ago. That would be the ideal start to 2022, and then hopefully next season progress as a club, just whether that's in this league or the next league. So progression, if you're still in this league, is to get promoted, or if we go up, probably a bit of stability, just find us feet in that league and then push on from there. But I think getting to the playoffs would be very happy for every Worksop fan, I think, because then it gives us a chance to get into the next league.
Just to be able to support a club at the minute, after what's gone off is good enough for me. But if we can keep being competitive, that would be fantastic. Obviously, we don't just go into 2022. We're absolutely thrown into 2022 with the amount of fixtures we've got in January. We're currently on 8. We've got Frickley away, Pickering at home on the following Saturday. Tuesday the 11th, we're away at Yorkshire Amateur. Then we're away at Dunstan on the 15th, away at Rossington in the Cup on the 18th. On the 22nd, we're also away at Stocksbridge. And then we finish off that month with 2 home games on the 25th and the 29th against Sheffield and Brighouse Town. It's certainly going to be a big ask, but we mentioned about what we want in 2022. I really want that Sheffield and Hallamshire Senior Cup. To see us win it in 2012 against Frickley was brilliant, and arguably, well, not arguably, we are the highest placed team in that Final Four. Rossington Main are a fantastic outfit this year. They're like, after a couple of years of sort of stumbling, they have really turned it around. And obviously Russ Shepherd is there, and he's top lad Russ. There's a few. I think the other semi-final is Maltby and Parkgate, and I think out of them 2 teams, I'd rather play Parkgate, as because we know what Maltby's like. They are feisty, a feisty team to play against them. But if we could get into that final, that'd be absolutely brilliant, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would, mate. It would be. It would be good for the town. I mean, when we won the League Cup, you could see there were 1,000 fans at the Donny Stadium, and it was just great. You just felt the whole of Worksop was there, and I think it'll give confidence to players, confidence with the directors and everyone at the club. It'll just have this feel good factor, and everyone loves a good cup run, don't they?
Yep, and it would make us the joint record holders of the competition with 13.
Oh, wow.
I think Frickley have got 13. I think we've got 12, or it's something in that ballpark figure, which would be fantastic. But yeah, on to 2022. We've got obviously New Year's resolutions, as we mentioned earlier. Got a couple for the podcast, obviously, and the media. Luke, have you got any resolutions?
No, not particularly. I think no, because no, I don't have any. I don't have any this year, to be honest, mate. What about yourself?
This is a great segment, Luke. Well done.
I know. Sorry, mate.
No, don't worry. Well, for the podcast, is obviously to make it more consistent. Obviously, we started off really well, I think, and then sort of things started happening. University, people get busy, and we just found not enough time to record. But I think with me, you, and Michael sort of becoming a trio eventually, when we able to get together, I think we can make that more consistent. I think the whole media as a whole has taken a little knock anyway because of how busy I've been and we've been. So in 2022, I think it's time to take it up a notch. I think Wheels lot. So hopefully you'll enjoy the podcast more. We've said about getting fans on and more interviews, and we've failed to do that so far. So that would be another resolution. Hopefully we can come out as one of the top media teams in this league. I think Stockton's is fantastic. Frickley's not so much, but and obviously I think the Bridlington one that made me laugh when they played Mask, because they were 6-0 down and they were still in full capital saying Adam Boyes is on fire when he scored his hat-trick against them, which bizarre. But it's hopefully it's a positive 2022 for everyone, and that's where we'll leave it with. We'll play it out with Paz's resolution. What you asked him the other day, Luke. I think we all need to have a better 2022 considering this year.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we get this COVID calms down, hopefully, and we can get back to some kind of normality. I know we keep saying it, but yeah, I just think just set yourself little realistic goals and gives you something to strive for. I think as a club, probably just look to try and get more fans. Hopefully, we can get more fans in on a regular basis, like we did again. I'm sure we can get the numbers against Cleethorpes. So yeah, it'd be nice to see more fans back at the club, and to see us progress up the table and go on a nice cut run going into May. But yeah, I think it's going to be a good year, hopefully.
I mean, Hallam are doing it at the minute, aren't they? They're getting some great attendances. I think they've had 3 games over 600, and on Tuesday, or when they played, I think it was Tuesday, they had 1,129, I think the attendance was, which was absolutely brilliant. And they're on, Hallam are a great little club, obviously a lot of connections between us because Craig Denton's there, and they've just signed Craig Mitchell, who scored, which was, his celebrations mirrored the ones that he's done for us, which quite a heartfelt moment. But that's where we'll leave it for this episode. After saying to Luke earlier, we'll just do a quick touch base one. We're 75 minutes into recording. So, Luke, thank you for joining me.
No worries, Dev. Pleasure. And it's been a great 2021, and hopefully we have a good 2022.
Up the Tigers.
Up the Tigers.
On New Year's Day, do you have any resolutions for the club going forward?
Any resolutions, club? I've got one or two personal myself, but I'm not sure. I think just to, it's been we're fortunate this year to finish on a high. It's been such a difficult time, hasn't it, for every football club, not just football club, football players. And only I think we forget that every player at this level goes out there and works. Some players at this level have probably had the jobs taken off them. Some people have probably lost their businesses. Some suppose have really difficult times. So I think sometimes I think it's more about individual and everyone inside the football club, because I think the football club itself it's a beast. It's a renowned football club. You look at the support there and the fan base here today, it's frightening. I think more for me is kind of like ensuring that, God bless them, that all the players, the volunteers, the chairman, the committee, everyone in here personally can have a better new year next year, and hopefully get back to some normality in the world, and get back to winning football games regular, and getting this club up the leagues and where it needs to be.